Hello dear learners, I am Ms. Purvi Soni from Department of Economics, and today I will be explaining you about the concept of revenue. Revenue refers to the income that is received by the firm from the sale of a commodity at different prices. Let us take an example. Suppose a shopkeeper sells a pen at rupees 50, which might have costed him around 30 rupees. So those 50 rupees is basically the revenue and the cost to him is rupees 30. Now the cost when added to the profit resultantly gives us the revenue. So the profit can be calculated as the revenue minus cost. Profit is the sole motive why the firms undertake their business, and so it can be calculated in the simultaneous way. Let us try to understand the different concepts of revenue. The first is the total revenue. Total revenue basically means the total amount received by the firms through the sale of all the units of a commodity. The total revenue depends on the price per unit and the number of units sold, and it can be calculated as the price multiplied by the quantity. Let us take an example. Suppose the price of a commodity is 5 rupees and the units sold are 10 units. So it can be calculated as 5 multiplied by 10, which gives the total revenue as 50 rupees. Next comes the average revenue. Average revenue is the revenue that a firm earns when per unit of output is sold, and it is calculated as the total revenue divided by the number of units sold. Let us take an example that the total revenue is 50 rupees and the number of units sold is 10 units. So the resultant will be 50 divided by 10, which will give me 5 as my average revenue. Now it is said that the average revenue is equal to the price. Let us understand how is it possible. The average revenue is basically the total revenue divided by the quantity, and the total revenue is price multiplied by the quantity. Now when I substitute the value of total revenue in this particular equation, we will get the equation as average revenue is equals to price into quantity divided by quantity. Now since quantity is common in both numerator and denominator, we will cancel it out and the resultant will be the average revenue is equal to the price. The average revenue also depicts the demand curve of a firm. Now marginal revenue. Marginal revenue basically means the amount of money received by a firm through the sale of an additional unit, and it can be calculated as TR nth minus TR nth minus 1, where nth means the number of units sold and nth minus 1 means the preceding unit sold. It can also be calculated as delta total revenue upon the delta quantity. Here the word delta means the change in the total revenue upon the change in the output. Now let us try to understand the behavior of average revenue, marginal revenue and total revenue under different conditions. The first condition is when the price remains constant. Now the price remains constant under perfect competition. Now under perfect competition, there is a uniform price prevailing in the market. Now also under the perfect competition, the marginal revenue is equal to the price and it is also equal to the average revenue. Now here we have a schedule which represents the price, the total revenue, the marginal revenue and the average revenue. Now here the number of units sold are increasing and the price remains constant throughout because of the uniform price prevailing in the market. Now here the total revenue can be calculated as the price multiplied by the quantity. The price prevailing is 5 and the first unit sold is 1. 5 multiplied by 1 will give me 5. Under the second unit, when the second unit is multiplied by 5, the resultant is 10. Under third unit, it is 3 multiplied by 5 and the resultant is 15. And the same is for marginal and the average revenue. Since it is equal to the price, average and marginal revenue will be 5 and it will be constant throughout. Now, if we understand the graphical representation of it, since the price, marginal and average revenue is equal and they are constant, it will be horizontally parallel to the x-axis. Now, if I talk about the total revenue, it is upward sloping line, upward sloping straight line, because there is a direct relationship between the units sold and the total revenue. Now, let us try to understand another scenario where the price changes. Now, the price changes under imperfect competition. Now, if I talk about the average revenue and marginal revenue curve, under imperfect competition, it is downward sloping. The reason is more output can only be sold under lower prices only. Now, we have a schedule here where the units is increasing and the price is decreasing. They have an inverse relationship, and simultaneously we will calculate the total revenue. Under the first unit, 1 multiplied by 5 will give me 5, 2 multiplied by 4 will give me 8, 3 multiplied by 3 will give me 9. Now, if I graphically explain this, the AR and MR curve is downward sloping and the slope of MR is twice of AR. Now, if I graphically explain it, till the third unit of output, the total revenue increases and it reaches its maximum point, which is at this point M. Now, with the corresponding MR and AR curve, the MR is 0 when the total revenue is maximum and the AR is still falling. Now, if we sell the output beyond the third unit of output, the total revenue will start falling, the MR becomes negative and the AR is still falling. The average revenue can never be negative because the total revenue cannot be negative, and so it is calculated as total revenue divided by the units sold. And this is basically the representation of the graph. Here the MR and AR curve are downward sloping. Both AR and MR fall with the increase in output, but the fall in AR is at a slower rate than the MR. The total revenue increases till the third unit of output sold. Beyond the third unit of output, the total revenue starts falling and the marginal revenue becomes negative. Now, this is the AR and MR curve under monopolistic competition. The preceding was the monopoly where the AR and MR curve were steeper. Here, the AR and MR curve is flatter in nature because of the availability of close substitutes. Since there are close substitutes available, the elasticity under monopolistic competition will be highly elastic and the degree of elasticity will be greater than 1. So, with this we come to the end of this video. I hope you were able to understand the concepts clearly. Thank you.